Hi, welcome to this episode of Millennial Pocket. Today we're going to be looking at the successful story of SpaceX. SpaceX is a private aerospace platform which puts satellites into orbit and delivers cargo. The platform has set up a reusable rocket and launch system for considerably cutting back on the spaceflight costs. The company accounts for almost a quarter of all launches worldwide, and in 2020, 21.8% of all launches were made by SpaceX. But how did it become one of the most successful aerospace manufacturers and space transport services in the world? Let's take a look. It all began back in 2001, when Elon Musk had a new ambition, which was to create technologies to reduce space transportation costs and enable the colonisation of Mars. After selling PayPal to eBay in 2002, Musk made around $200 million and was ready to invest part of it on a stunt he hoped would reinvigorate interest in funding NASA and space exploration. So, that year Musk and his friends travelled to Russia to buy a refurbished intercontinental ballistic missile. The idea was to buy a Russian rocket on the cheap and use it to send plants or mice to Mars. But Musk's Moscow meeting didn't go well, and after 3 total rejections, he decided he could build rockets himself, calculating that he could undercut existing launch contractors in the process. SpaceX was founded just a few months later on May 6, 2002. Musk calculated that the raw materials for building a rocket were only 3% of the sales price at the time. By producing its vehicles in-house and coming up with low-cost ways of operating, SpaceX could cut launch price by a factor of 10 and still enjoy a 70% gross margin. Musk aimed to develop a rocket being both low-cost and reusable, and which held the capacity of being able to undertake multiple trips. With the purpose of accomplishing this, Musk recruited the rocket designer Tom Mueller, with whom the platform invested 2 years in setting up Falcon 1, the first rocket built by SpaceX, named after the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars. Musk invested $100 million from his own personal funds into the Falcon 1, but unfortunately its first 3 launching attempts were unsuccessful. The Falcon 1 was vastly cheaper to build and operate than its competitors, a field largely populated by spacecraft built by publicly owned and government-funded companies such as Lockheed Martin and Boeing. In March 2006, SpaceX made its first Falcon 1 launch, which began successfully but ended prematurely because of a fuel leak and fire. They attempted to launch again in 2007, and although the rocket failed to reach orbit, they saw this as a success because they had been able to gather huge amounts of data as it soared upwards through the skies for around 4.5 minutes. After another failure to launch the Falcon 1 in 2008, SpaceX was up against the ropes. If the rocket didn't successfully launch on the next attempt, the company would have to close down. Elon Musk put on a very confident front at the time, but he has since said it was the hardest year of his life. As the only aspect of the Falcon 1's launch which needed to be changed was the time delay on the separation, the next launch took place just weeks later, on 28 September 2008. The mission was a success, and SpaceX became the first privately funded rocket company to reach orbit. In August of 2006, SpaceX was a winner of a NASA competition for funds to build and demonstrate spacecraft that could potentially service the ISS after the decommissioning of the Space Shuttle. In May 2010, they successfully launched the Falcon 9 on their first attempt, a much bigger rocket than the Falcon 1, which could carry a far greater load. The real success story behind this was that SpaceX showed how cost-effectively they were able to do this project. NASA calculated how much it would cost them to do the same, and SpaceX had been able to do it 5 times cheaper. In December 2010, the company reached another milestone, becoming the first commercial company to release a spacecraft, the Dragon capsule, into orbit and successfully return it to Earth. Dragon again made history on May 25, 2012, when it became the first commercial spacecraft to dock with the ISS, to which it successfully delivered cargo. In December 2013, SpaceX launched its first satellite beyond Earth orbit, positioning itself as a disruptive player in an international launch market. That marked another important milestone for the company, which had never before delivered cargo to that pivotal orbit. Even more important, it marked again a new level of affordability for accessing space. In January 2015, SpaceX raised $1 billion in funding from Google and Fidelity in exchange for 10% of the company, establishing its valuation at approximately $12 billion. The same month, SpaceX announced the development of a new satellite constellation called Starlink to provide global broadband internet service. The following December, the company achieved another important goal by returning a first-stage orbital rocket back to the ground. Up until then, all rockets were designed to burn up on re-entry, but SpaceX could not only withstand re-entry, but also could land back on Earth successfully and re-fly again. In 2018, the company launched its Falcon Heavy rocket, the most powerful rocket launched from the US since the Saturn V that sent astronauts to the Moon, capable of delivering up to 140,700 pounds to low Earth orbit. That Falcon Heavy didn't carry a satellite, but instead, the huge launch system sent a test payload, consisting of Musk's personal red Tesla Roadster, with a mannequin in a spacesuit buckled into the driver's seat. On May 30th, 2020, SpaceX successfully launched two NASA astronauts, Douglas Hurley and Robert Behnken, into orbit on a Crew Dragon spacecraft during SpaceX Demo 2, making SpaceX the first private company to send astronauts to the International Space Station and marking the first crewed launch from American soil in 9 years. From the time when the company was set up back in 2002, a wide collection of spaceship systems and rockets have been developed by it, maintaining the constant aim of cutting down on costs considerably by constructing many system parts to be reusable. The platform has been making money solely through launching satellites into low Earth orbit and through delivering cargo to and from the International Space Station. The platform evidently aims to add to its sources of revenue in the future, which would also incorporate potential sources of revenue from weapons like their satellite internet constellation, Starlink, a project that is aiming to provide the world with reliable and affordable internet. SpaceX has several new missions in its pipeline, many of which are already underway and some which are all set to get started. In February 2021, the company stated its endeavour of launching its first mission to deliver an all-civilian crew to space, with members of the public being invited to submit a drawing to win one of the seats on the spacecraft. One of them is Yusaku Maezawa, a Japanese billionaire entrepreneur, who will travel on a mission around the Moon aboard a Starship spacecraft of SpaceX in 2023. However, from the time of its inception, the ultimate goal of SpaceX has been to reach Mars. Yet the platform has also been engaged in projects unrelated to space. Musk has said he doesn't plan to take SpaceX public until the company realises its Mars ambitions, and aims to launch a SpaceX rocket off to Mars containing only cargo by 2022. What do you think about SpaceX? Do you think they will get to Mars? Would you invest in it if it was a public company? Please let me know in the comments section below. Leave a like if you got some value from this video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Feel free to follow us on Instagram, we post every day there. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching guys. Until next time.